G'day ladies and gentlemen, how are you all doing? ScottyD49 here with you once again for one of the first installments in our new series, Warhammer 40,000 for the new guy. So to kick us off with this series, I'm going to be looking at one of the most popular factions within the game of Warhammer 40,000, the Space Marines. And to start off this video, we're going to be specifically looking at the lore, or also known as the background, for the Space Marines as well. But before we jump into it, ladies and gentlemen, if you do enjoy the content here on the channel, feel free to hit that subscribe button down below and you'll be notified when we do release more videos in this series, as well as the battle reports from various tournaments that I've covered live on stream and a bunch of other stuff as well. But without further ado, let's jump into it. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, so we're going to be kicking off by covering the lore or the background of Space Marines, also known as Adeptus Astartes. And to start off with that, we have to go back 10,000 years in the Warhammer 40,000 universe. Now, humanity at this point was divided not only on Earth, but throughout the galaxy. And Earth was also known as Terra in the Warhammer 40,000 universe. However, a single person was able to unify all the factions across Terra with his Thunder Warriors, and this person became known as the Emperor of Mankind. Now, the Thunder Warriors were the precursors to the Space Marines, and after the Emperor unified Terra, the Thunder Warriors actually turned against him, and so the Space Marines actually wiped out the Thunder Warriors, and he continued to unify not just Terra, but also the rest of the solar system, and spreading out his eyes to the rest of the galaxy, where humanity had spread across the expanse. Being a scientific genius, the Emperor set out to create 20 genetically created beings known as Primarchs. However, before the Primarchs were ready to be brought out of their gestation capsules, they were actually lost into the warp due to an accident during their development, and they were spread out across the galaxy. Now, for each of these Primarchs, the Emperor also created a legion of Space Marines for them to be commanding, and these legions were developed by taking the gene seed, so the genetic coding of that Primarch, and used in the development of Space Marines, who are superhuman soldiers that have extra organs, and they just have extra musculature and given hormones to grow larger, much larger than a standard human could, and be able to wear a suit of armor known as power armor. The Emperor gathered all of the legions and set out into the galaxy in search of these missing Primarchs, with the goal of unifying mankind across the galaxy. Now, during this journey, there were only 2 Primarchs that we don't know what actually happened to them, and we don't know what happened to their legions as well, whether they were eradicated, whether they were folded into the other legions. Now, if you do know, feel free to share with me. I'd love to hear the details about these 2 unknown legions. Now, the Emperor, deciding after much time of leading this great crusade out into the galaxy to reunify humanity, he returned to Terra and promoted one of the Primarchs, Horus, Primarch of the Lunar Wolves at the time, to continue to lead the Great Crusade as the War Master. Now, however, due to deception from another Primarch's legion and Erebus, the Word Bearers, and as Horus was actually slain or very grievously wounded early on in the heresy, he was actually revived by the Davenite priests. If you have read the first 3 books of the Horus Heresy series, you'll know what I'm talking about. It's at this point where he's actually deceived by the Chaos Gods themselves and imbued to turn against the Emperor, and turning half of their legions against their brothers in the Istavan system. Now, over the time of the Great Crusade and what is also now known as the Horus Heresy, there were constant improvements to the Space Marines armor. You'll note that in the game, currently the Horus Heresy has just received a massive update, and in the game, there's Mark III, Mark IV, Mark V, and Mark VI armor. So as the Heresy progressed, these armor marks came out, and I believe it was up to Mark 6, where there just was some of the latest ones before the Horus Heresy began, and some of the chapters did only receive them in the final days of the heresy. Now, throughout the heresy, many of the Primarchs were killed, severely injured, or lost. However, one of them, Roboute Guilliman, the Primarch of the Ultramarines, during some of the final years of the Horus Heresy, created what is known as the Codex Astartes. Now, this is the guide in which Space Marines should be organized and do battle. It was in this Codex Astartes that it instituted by not only Guilliman, but also the High Lords of Terror after Guilliman was placed into stasis, that the legions were to be split up into chapters of no more than 1,000 Space Marines to stop what had happened in the Horus Heresy from happening again in the future on such a large scale, because these legions were literally legions of tens of thousands of Space Marines that had turned. Now, most chapters would have their own homeworld, and with some of them being known as crusading chapters that were constantly traversing the galaxy in their fleets, whether it was by choice, for example the Black Templars, or whether they were forced to do so to repent of some grievous actions that had happened by their chapter, particularly some of the chapters that were involved in the Badab War. There are untold number of chapters throughout the galaxy, numbering in the thousands at this stage, that serve as the Emperor's finest soldiers to defend humanity against the growing demonic and heretical forces of chaos, as well as many Xenos threats from across the galaxy and outside of the galaxy in the terms of the Tyranids, that would seek to wipe out humanity and the Imperium of Man. The Space Marines are known by many names within the normal Imperium populace and throughout the galaxy, but most commonly they are known as the Emperor's Angels, or the Angels of Death, as their presence brings such death and destruction to the Imperium's foes and bringing salvation to the Imperial forces that are suffering losses against such forces. For example, if you've recently seen the new Space Marine 2 trailer, you'll see the 3 Primaris Space Marines dropping down to stop Tyranid hordes wiping out the Imperial Guardsmen trying to hold that square. That's just how strong Space Marines are and how reverent normal humans have for them. Even Sisters of Battle in the Warhammer 9th edition trailer shows you that reverence that they have for the Space Marines. And it is very rare across the galaxy that normal regular populace or even Imperial Guard will see Space Marines turn up like this. But ladies and gentlemen, that is just a brief summary of the background and the lore and where the Space Marines fit in the Warhammer 40,000 universe. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, well, I hope that you have enjoyed this brief summary of the lore and or background, you could call it, of the Space Marines, also known as Adeptus Astartes, in the Warhammer 40,000 universe, to give you an idea of where they actually fit in the galaxy and their role and purpose in the game as well. Now, if you did enjoy this video and you want to keep on seeing more of these, I will be covering in this series every single faction in the game, giving you a short breakdown of what their lore actually is as well. So make sure you hit that subscribe button down below to be notified about more videos in this series, and let me know what your favorite part of Space Marine background or lore, if there's any stories you enjoy, and feel free to like the video as well. If you don't want to leave any comments or have any discussion here, that's okay. Come and find me when I'm live over on Twitch on Tuesday and Friday nights and Saturday afternoons, Australian Eastern Standard Time, where I do hobby sessions, live games, and tournament coverage as well. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. I hope to catch you in the next one.